So we are back on the Hurst Olds 1984. As you can see over here, we're trying to get it ready for epoxy primer. We always talk about how priming before body filler is kind of a controversy with certain people. So like obviously if you're down in Arizona and it's a very dry climate, you could probably get away without epoxying your cars and putting body filler right under metal and then priming over it and doing it that way. We find it's way better to just epoxy it right out of the gate. This way, everything's locked in. So you can see that everything's bare metal. We're going right to epoxy. There's no rust. There's nothing wrong with it. And it'll stay like that. So what's cool about it is we literally, once we get this thing in epoxy, it's good. We could push this thing to the side, work on it when we want to. If we have time, knock out a few things. But this way, it's locked in and it's not going to get worse. It's just super important for us to get that in there. Also, you can see that we went through and anywhere there was questionable areas of rust that we have to fix, we actually taped off. The reason we taped those off is because we're going to epoxy it, we're going to peel them off, and then you're going to see that rust. Now we remember where it is. We could go there, cut it out, weld it. When it's done, put that in epoxy primer. Then we're going to sand the whole car down and go through and do our body work on top of that at our leisure. So one thing today we're going to be doing, actually, we're using a Glazerite primer, 801-74. It's their epoxy primer. I really like it. We've been using the Glazerite primers for a long time. So we were actually, because we've been having such good luck with the Axel Nobel, with the Sikkens line of paint and stuff, and the Valorum, we were going to actually use the Sikkens epoxy primer on here. I feel both companies, Glazerite, Sikkens, I mean, there's a few companies, Spies, that are really good companies. You're not going to have any problems. If you do have problems, it's probably user error. Because we've been having good luck with Sikkens, I wanted to try it out. Unfortunately, we sent over a text to get the right part number for the Sikkens because I don't know their product line. And by the time we got a response, it was like 5 o'clock. Deliveries have to be sent over at like 4:30 to make sure we have it for the next day. And I didn't feel like driving we have to drive the Granby from Middlefield, which is quite a ride in the middle of the day to go pick up epoxy. And obviously because I love the Glazerite products before, I know how they work with, we're gonna stick with it. I do like to try to keep one paint system the same all the way through. What are you doing? Oh, I'm supposed to have it out farther. Sorry, I'm trying to use a selfie stick. I thought they were the stupidest things ever, but because this probably doesn't look so great on a big screen TV, maybe that will look a little less.
Right? Did you see the top of your head?
Yeah, there you go. That's probably more of a glare, less of a glare. Another Mr. Clean, 2 Mr. Cleans. So anyway, this car is going in Glazerite epoxy primer. We've had great luck with it I think we've been using Glazerite for over 10 years now. But honestly, we used to use PPG and it was because our distributors were close, they were good back then. Dave Meisterlin was a well-known PPG guy and he always took care of us and did right by us. Then when we moved, it really wasn't a good delivery service. There was nobody really around that did the PPG. So then we looked at DuPont, but DuPont at the time, Chromax, Chromabase, whatever they are now. Actually, I think there's something else. But anyways, they great product. It just didn't work for us. I didn't like their value shades. I didn't like their base makers. It's just after using the PPG, see, I keep having to put my arm out because I forget. After using the PPG for so long, it was hard to go to DuPont. We kind of went back to PPG and we were driving like we're doing now, unfortunately, to go get it. We were introduced by a rep that actually sells Glazerite, and when he came in, I said, you know, we're using the epoxy primer, the DP epoxy from PPG. There's certain things I didn't like about it were when you put your body filler on it to sand it, it didn't really sand at the same level as the body filler did, so it was kind of weird. It wasn't bad. We have zero problems with it. That's why I'm saying if you do it right, any paint system is going to be fine. Just when he told us to try their epoxy primer out, he said epoxy is an epoxy. You know, some are, they're all the same. Well, when we did all the same and tried the Glazerite epoxy, it was not the same. It was 1,000 times better. It went on better. It bit better. When you put body filler on it, it stuck better. It sanded at the same rate as the body filler. It's almost like it was more of an acrylic. It was really good. So we went to Glazerite. We had a good delivery service, and we were using that for a long time. And then obviously COVID, all the other things happened. So we ended up trying out the Axel Nobel line because the Valorum had a great price strategy on it. Our salespeople had a great sales pitch on it and sold us on it. So we tried it, and now after using it for a year and a half, there's a lot of stuff we really like about it. For instance, the things I liked about Glazrit before is that for the 55 line, when we were doing the higher end cars, there's a more, it would dry slower, take longer to dry. Obviously, that's the same thing. I'm repeating myself. But this gave you more time to work the actual material, wet sanding it and prepping it and going that. But there was also different things like we'd have to clear coat the vehicle, sand it, let it sit for a few days or a week, then come back, resand it, or continue sanding it, and then buff it. And then usually before the car would leave, we'd have to give it a really good buff as well, because it's so soft that it's going to shrink a little bit. Not bad. Not what, when I say this, it probably sounds worse than it is, because the Glazrit was a phenomenal product. The problems that I heard about the Sikkens and the Axel Novell stuff was that it dries hard as a rock and it's hard to sand and buff. It's true, it does. But the one thing that I do like now is it dries hard, it's done. It doesn't shrink, you don't have to worry about it. It goes out the door, and everything's a little bit faster paced now, so sometimes you have to get things out and you want to make sure that there's no shrinkage or changing. So some of the stuff I didn't like, I do like now. But anyways, let's get through. We're gonna go through and epoxy prime this car. So this will be the last time you're gonna see it in raw metal. See him over there? See him over there? Now, we're also trying to keep these videos a little more consistent now, giving you guys a lot more information, a lot more of what's going on. So this week, we're actually going to be working on the Dodge Ram 2500, the green one, doing the interior, trying to finish up the last few final details. However, I guess we're going to add a few more things to it possibly, but for now, we're going to wrap up everything we have to do and get that part done. So we've got a lot of projects. We're also going to put the windows, electric window conversion into the 2000 F550. So there's a lot of stuff going on our truck channel. So we're trying to do a lot of videos at the same time and put them up. So you might have to bounce back and forth between our channels if you like truck stuff or motorcycle stuff to see the different content. So please remember to do that. Atomic Auto Works for cars, Atomic Cycle Works for motorcycles, and Atomic Truck Works for trucks. It's pretty simple, right? Oh, and another update is the podcast. We should have our podcast running again next week, possibly this week. We're almost done with what we were doing on the podcast studio, just trying to up it up a little bit, do a little bit more, make it look a little better, trying to get the lighting a little bit better. Once we get that done, we're going to move to getting better audio and actually hooking up our microphones. But I think at that point, we might need someone who knows what they're doing to come in and actually do some of the live editing and stuff. So that's going to be kind of the down the road thing right now. I just kind of enjoying keeping it low key and enjoying what we're doing. And we will be reaching out to a lot of people. If anybody's out there who knows people that want to come on, I'm really looking for people who are hands-on in it, deep in this industry, who love cars, trucks, and motorcycles. We have a couple of people that we're reaching out to, and actually Rick's like, bring on people with truck pulls and tractor pulls and some of the pro tractors and things like that. So we might actually have some of them on there just because it's, we're really into big horsepower, a lot of noise and cool stuff. But again, if you know anybody in our industry who's looking, who might want to just talk about what they're doing and promote it a little bit, we'd love to have them on here. So please tell a friend, tell someone.